What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome into another Bleav in Wizards podcast. I'm Modderno. He's Jahadi White. This is the 300th episode of the Bleav in Wizards podcast. So we're officially big time now, Jahadi. Like we've been around. We're entrenched. We're veterans at this point.
Yeah, we put our time in.
That's right. Yeah. This is our 10-year. We're here. Appreciate everybody who's listened along the way, supported the show, sent it to a friend, left a review, hit that little like button on YouTube or subscribed, even better. So feel free to do that if you haven't done any of those things yet. It's never too late. Hopefully another 300 episodes coming in our future here that we can get more people on board and keep growing this thing. Before we get going, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas. And we're brought to you by BetOnline. It's your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from MLB, boxing, golf, UFC, tennis, everything you can think of. Get the latest stats, news, and scores available for your favorite teams. The latest odds, lines, matchup reports, player props, everything you can think of for your favorite sports out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get on the action. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, first piece of actual Wizards news, and there really isn't a lot. We're in the dry period here, but Wizards have extended Exhibit 10 contracts to the following people. You've got Leaky Black. He was a 3-and-D wing out of North Carolina a couple years ago. He played on the Hornets G League team last year and a little bit with the Hornets here and there. Just a solid, good defender, streaky shooter. Kyrie Lewis Jr., small point guard. He was a lottery pick a couple of years ago. I actually really liked him coming out of college, but he's small and can't stay healthy, so that hurts. And then you've got Jaylen Nowell. I think folks, maybe if they remember him, will remember him from the Timberwolves a couple of years ago. Kind of a 3-and-D guy, drafted in the second round. Just a solid player. He's 25. I think Lewis is 23. Leaky's probably in his early to mid-20s. So these are all fine guys to me, Jahadi, on an Exhibit 10, because realistically, that just gives you a chance to, one, convert them to a real contract if you want, or two, give them a bonus if they end up joining the G League team. So I think really you're just trying to sweeten the pot for guys that you may want to fill out, the kind of end of your roster with at best, and more likely probably your G League roster. But any thoughts on any of those three guys so far?
Well, I mean, these guys give these guys an Exhibit 10. I think these are good guys because these are guys with more upside and some growth potential. Yeah. And so it's guys that could, say, just instead of just getting guys there, these are three good guys, pretty much they're similar players, pretty much the same, but good players. I mean, Leaky Black, I remember him in North Carolina, how much good player he was. I mean, that a hustler, streaky shooter, he's a smart player as well.
Agreed.
Lewis, he was a good GP to me, good facilitator. Mm-hmm. And you have Nowell, who's, he was he's stretchy, athletic, good court vision. And he was could run the floor very well. So to me, these guys have some potential to really can still growth, some upside to maybe can start working their way, to past the G League, in the G League, past the G League, on the team. So it's just not guys saying, okay, fill in.
Right.
You're strategically picking guys to say, I feel like they can fit the mold of our team and grow with us if possible.
I think Nowell's probably the one most likely, if he ended up on the Wizards roster in some way, shape, or form, that he's probably just the guy that would feel most competent that you could just say, hey, go run out there and play some 3-and-D and give us a couple minutes right now. I think that's
Lewis.
Jaylen Nowell is probably the most likely.
Well, he to me, he has the most NBA experience.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what I was thinking. It's just he's done it. He's been competent. I actually thought he was kind of good for Minnesota. It was before they were on their way back up, unfortunately for him, and that's probably why he didn't last there longer term. But in 4 seasons with Minnesota, he averaged about 9 points. So not bad. 2 rebounds, about 2 assists, a half a steal, a quarter of a block, all that kind of stuff. And let's see, he shot, well, I thought he was a little bit better shooter than this. He's a career 32% 3-point shooter, and that's probably the difference maker for him. Hard to be a 3-and-D guy really without the 3. So maybe he's worked on that. And that's a guy that if he does make shots, I could see him, being back in the league a little bit more here, would at least be my guess.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well,
Leaky Black played 26 games for Charlotte last year. It's actually a little bit more than I thought. Only averaged about 10 minutes a game. Started 3 games, averaged 2.5 points, about 2 rebounds, about an assist. Yeah, he shot 45% from 3, but on less than 1 attempt per game. So that's really the difference here is if either of those guys shoot it, you might be looking at a rotation player potentially.
Yeah, I agree. And experience wins overall, and understanding, how, just like the portal, you'd rather go get a guy with some college experience than a guy from high school right now because, they can come in, they understand the feel of it, they've been through major parts and major situations in the game at that time. So same thing with the NBA. So you would rather go get somebody with a lot of court experience and been on 2 teams, and Dallas and Minnesota, right?
Yes, I definitely remember Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Dallas and Minnesota. Okay. Yeah, I know. If I remember correctly. So, you're right. You're right. I would probably pick him as well.
Let's see. He played Minnesota, a little bit for Memphis, and a little bit for Detroit. But the vast majority of his games were the Minnesota ones.
You didn't play for Dallas?
No. The other D team.
Okay.
I can't keep track of half of these guys. Thank God for Basketball Reference. They honestly like the single most important website I ever use. I'm with you completely, though. And the thing with Lewis Jr., again, I liked him coming out of the draft. But this is a guy that in the last couple of seasons, he played 28 games last year, 25 the year before, 24 the year before that, and 54 in his first season. Just can't stay healthy. And that's really the difference. If you're already a small guard, just once you start racking up those injuries, it's tough to kind of overcome, I think.
You really can't be a small guard in this league.
It's hard.
And start having a lot of injuries. That's one position you can't, unless you're a top guy. That's one position you can't have a lot of injuries in because it's too many. One thing the NBA can go get is another guard.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's even though it's one of the most important positions on the floor. Mm-hmm. It's just that size.
There's another guy. Yeah, exactly.
It's another guy that size somewhere. There's a million of them. You can't find too many 7-footers.
Right.
You can find another 6'4".
Mm-hmm. Any of the 3 guys, if they end up on the G League team, though, I'm like really cool with that, especially if you're going to have, guys like Keyshawn George spend a lot of minutes, or even Tristan Vukcevic spend some minutes down in the G League team, whether they should or not. If they are going to be down there, it's nice for them to play like around competent other guys that have played at the NBA level, know what it takes to be a professional. So I just think that makes them look better to learn from guys that have at least done it at the highest level to some degree. So I'm kind of cool with them filling out that roster with some of those kinds of guys too.
Yeah. To me, when you sending guys down to the G League from your regular roster, NBA roster, you want them around more two-way guys or more guys that has NBA experience or have the chance to be on the NBA roster one day.
For sure.
Than guys who are going to be forever G League guys.
Right.
It's a complete different mentality. Mm-hmm. It's a point to where a G League guy would just say, kind of come to the realization, I might be a G League guy for forever.
Yeah.
And that type of mentality is tough dealing with, a guy who's okay. I'm going back and forth from the NBA to G League to the NBA to G League. Like that means one day I'm still in that space to where I can be an NBA player on a full contract.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a little bit better from a competitive standpoint. You got guys actually fighting for those minutes, but also, they're hopefully going to do things the right way and are hopefully a little bit more aware of like what the role is to get them to the NBA level. I feel like a lot of G League guys are like, oh, if I score 35 a game, that'll get me noticed. And it's really, that's not what teams are looking for. But if you're like a Nowell, can I spot up and hit open threes and play good defense? That's great for someone like George to play next to, but it's also the thing that most likely gets him back on an NBA roster. So
guys don't realize that NBA is about specifics, right? Mm-hmm. I need you to, we're lacking in this specific area of a guy who can do this specific thing, right? Every NBA team has a 30 guy.
Yep.
guys going to score 30
They don't need
points.
you to come out of the G League.
They have made 1 or 2. They don't need to go down to the G League looking for one. When they go into the G League, they're looking for something specific.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we need rebounding. We need a guy who can defend. We need a guy who can really facilitate. It's never really about scoring. So, that's the thing that most guys don't realize. The NBA is about specifics, and most of the specifics is never about scoring always.
Mm-hmm.
That's the least one.
Exactly. That's right. There's going to be 4 through 9 in the rotation that are more likely to get those touches than you are. But can you be a shooting specialist or a wing defender or a shot blocker? Like that's the role. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. So we'll see if any of the 3 of those guys can contribute anything long term. I think the Wizards have, even with this new front office, there haven't been a ton of the guys that started on Exhibit 10s last year that converted and actually even ended up on the G League roster. So, we'll see what that really looks like. But I'm not mad at the type of guy they're looking at the very least. All right. Next thing I got here for you, HoopsHype put out their positional rankings and ranked Kyle Kuzma as the 11th best power forward in the NBA. I'll run down the top 10. Ahead of him, Giannis, Zion, Paolo Banchero, Pascal Siakam, Karl Anthony Towns, Lauri Markkanen, Julius Randle, Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley, Aaron Gordon, and then our boy Kuzma. How do you feel about that placement? Anybody from that list you would put above him or below him? It seems fairly accurate to me. I think there are a couple guys he's in a tier with that, either way, I wouldn't really argue.
I wouldn't argue with that list much. 2 things I would probably consider, like Pascal Siakam is streaky to me. He's a more equivalent, or I can put Kuzma a little bit ahead of Pascal, just my opinion personally.
Okay.
And then Julius Randle, he just been out. You don't know what Julius Randle you're going to get back. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you can put the past Julius Randle, possibly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, okay, that's fine. But right now, we don't know what Julius Randle is or he's been out so long. So you can't really judge the past with the present. Mm-hmm. So other than that, I think they're pretty accurate.
I think someone like Aaron Gordon was the one I thought was really interesting because he's really blossomed in this perfect situation. And he's got just this very, it's an important job in Denver, but a fairly limited overall set of responsibilities. Guard these people, catch these lobs, roll to the basket. It's really not, he's really good at it, but somebody like Kuzma, he's more versatile. I think he could plug and play into more situations. And
Kuzma has more responsibility.
Yeah, for sure.
Aaron Gordon, with the situation he's in, if you're on Denver team, you never want
leave
Jokic to leave, because everybody he makes your life so easy as a player.
Right.
Most players would not score 20. I'll tell you 2 guys who guarantee wouldn't score 20 a night. Mm-hmm. Great players, so I'm not taking anything away from them. Sure. It'd be more just a hassle because they have to deal with twice as much defense.
Yep.
It's Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon.
Oh, and Jamal Murray too, honestly.
But I think Jamal Murray's skilled enough. Jokic makes everybody's life easier. Bottom line, no question. But 2 guys, I just feel like Murray still,
he'd be good.
He's in the scouting report.
For sure.
Right? But Jokic makes the defense collapse so much that all Gordon does is pretty much play the dunker spot. Yep. and Junior is always wide open. Mm-hmm. So he can shoot as much as he can. So my point is, are they good players? Yes. Will they be good players on other teams? Yes.
Yep.
But they won't have it as easy as this. This is milk and honey right now for them.
Gordon's maintained about a 14-ish, 15-ish point per game average for the last 7 or 8 seasons. But for the Denver ones, he's done it on a lot less shot attempts because his shooting percentage has gone up about 10% versus where it was toward the end of his time in Orlando. It just, the looks he gets are so much easier. He can be a lot more efficient. I just wonder what some of these other guys would look like in that situation. And The Evan Mobley one is another really interesting one for me. Like, he's very good defensively, still kind of limited offensively, I think, and maybe some of the reputation and early hype, I think, kind of bolsters his, spot in a lineup like this. So, like, any of those guys, if you flip them in that tier, like, I wouldn't really be mad at it. So I don't think 11 is unfair. If he ended up somewhere like 8, I wouldn't think that was unfair either.
But is it unfair because of the players that they're that they're comparing them with?
Yeah.
Or is it because the teams that they're on compared to teams that he's on?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
The Wizards being dog shit, I think.
A lot of those guys have more exposure.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how great Kuzma was, or if he, wasn't as great as he was the year before, you just didn't see him as much.
Yeah.
So the person who's evaluating, like, how fair can their evaluation be?
If he'd ended up on Dallas instead of PJ Washington at the trade deadline, I think he's 3 spots higher on this list, personally.
My point exactly.
No, I'm with you. The next couple names on the list were Miles Bridges, Jeremy Grant, Keegan Murray, Jabari Smith Jr. I think he's clearly better to me than all 4 of those guys right now. But Murray and Jabari are coming for him because they're low usage efficiency guys, and their role on their team, they're 3-and-D also. Like, they lock in more defensively than Kuzma does. So it's going to be interesting to see what this list looks like in another year or two. All right, just a couple random ones that aren't Wizard specific, but they involve a couple of former Wizards. Former Wizard Nick Young, who shouldn't be allowed to tweet some of the shit he tweets, said that people are scared to admit that Kyrie Irving is better than Steph Curry. He said Steph Curry is the Kobe Bryant. Kyrie Irving is the Kobe Bryant to Steph Curry's Michael Jordan. People are scared to say he's better. So in 2 things there, he said Kyrie Irving is better than Steph Curry, and he's also said that Kobe Bryant is better than Michael Jordan. I think both of those things are wrong, despite thinking that both guys are very good. I don't think it's accurate in any way personally. But what do you got?
What's the purpose? First of all, what's the purpose of the comparison? Right. Secondly,
yeah, it clicks, I guess.
Like, why would you compare Kobe and Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, Kobe, everything Kobe has gotten, or every move he's done, he got it from Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So now, was Kobe a better Mike than Mike? I don't know if that's possible to be a better Mike than Mike.
Right. He's like 90% of Mike, which is still crazy good. But
but then again, why compare Kyrie and Steph? And and the reason I say that is because they're 2 different type of players at 2 different type of games.
Yep.
Right. Steph is a guy who's going to run all the way around the court off a million screens, quick fire. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat downhill player, but I mean, I tell you who's easy to guard. Kyrie, just not because he's not as skilled. Kyrie is way more skilled as far as he's shifty, getting downhill. He's more of a Rod Strickland type.
Mm-hmm.
Steph Curry is more of a Reggie Miller in a guard type.
Yeah, he's like Mark Price on super steroids.
How can you compare the 2?
Yeah, totally different roles.
Yeah, so just the thought process of deciding those 2 that you're going to compare, it's apples and oranges all day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even a logical comparison other than they play the same position.
Right.
So I just think it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed. It's funny, like, when you see Steph in these all-star games, like, he can break dudes down when he wants to.
Yeah.
He just chooses to play like a really team-friendly, I'm going to kill you with off-ball movement and enjoy chasing me around screens the whole time. Not that maybe Kyrie could do that too, but he doesn't. So like you said, I think he's easier to, still really hard to guard, but like, of the 2, the ball is going to be with him. And if you can just keep him kind of in front of you, there's a lot less chasing him around and things like that to do.
Right. Or keep him from catching.
Yep,
so,
exactly.
I mean, think about it. Like, Kyrie, since we've seen this year, even last year, was never the primary focus.
Yeah.
Right. He's sometimes secondary, but Steph Curry is always the primary focus. I mean, you can't. And one thing you hear any player after they have guarded Steph Curry, they feel like they need to go call 911. Like, call the ambulance.
You're gonna cramp immediately after that.
Yeah,
game.
I'm cramped up. So you can't compare the two.
Yep.
It doesn't match. The comparison doesn't match.
Yeah. I think Gregory Castillo said it best in the chat here. Always pray for Nick Young. Yeah, Nick. He's a character. I think that's
it's an interesting topic, but about far as it goes.
Yeah, exactly. It leads into the next one. We're getting crazier and crazier here. So Anthony Edwards came out and said all of Jordan's competition in that era did not even have the physical tools to keep up with him. So he was basically, oh no, sorry, that's the Gilbert Arenas one. I skipped a line here. Anthony Edwards. They say it was tougher back then than it is now, but I don't think anybody had skill back then. So that's why when they saw Kobe Bryant, they're like, oh my God, but now everybody has skill. So basically, this is the Michael Jordan played against plumbers argument again. And I hate this shit so much. It's just, you get a little bit of it from the old guys of saying like the new guys are terrible, and you get it from the young guys say the old guys are terrible. But like, does anyone actually believe this shit when they're saying it? Like, has Anthony Edwards seen anybody from that era other than a few Michael Jordan highlights is what I would want to know first off. I mean, he says he doesn't watch much NBA or didn't before being in the league. So I wonder if he's even seen Magic Johnson play.
So if I was a guy in this era playing, and I watched that era, the basketball would be a little tougher to watch. Reason being is the game didn't take as much skill as it does now, right? Don't mean the players weren't as skilled; they just didn't have to be.
And you could be more physical, and
no one took more than 3 dribbles back then, right? Because first of all, you're not great back then. You're not going to dribble the air off the ball. The game was played inside out, right? The game was much more physical, right? You had to move the ball around, right? The ball just didn't stick back then. And if it did, it would just stick with like a Michael Jordan. The guards to me were more solid facilitators, like Isaiah Thomas. So it's a different game. Like, people don't understand the comparison of the Michael Jordan era and the comparison of now. It's evolution. Like, evolution happens in everything,
for sure,
right? But there's also now evolution happened in the game to where no one can hand check. The game has to be faster. It's much more or less physical. Now it's more of an entertainment type of game. So people keep talking about 2 different styles.
Sport almost.
I mean, not only styles of basketball, but rules. It's 2 different games. It's both called basketball, but that's about the closest it gets.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Scottie Pippen still today would be the most athletic, dynamic player on the floor today. No one will be able to deal with him today.
Yeah.
Also, if he played today, he would have twice as much skill.
He would average 30 points a game.
Because the game asked for that. The game didn't ask for that then. So it's not plumbers so much as it is, hey, if I'm teaching the guy how to shoot, I might not have to teach him how to also be a ball handler. Might not have to teach him how to do a step back, cross, pump fake, hezzy. Like, that stuff didn't exist back then, right? So it's about like evolution. Everything is evolution. The game, if anybody did a step back at that time, it would be called travel. It never would have existed. A step back wouldn't have never existed then.
Nope, couldn't have done it.
Right? They wouldn't let it. So now the game is more open, more free. Everybody's traveling. I mean, a hesitation is turning the ball over and stopping and then putting it back down.
Yeah.
That wouldn't exist back then. It's really not basketball now.
I know.
You just open it up and you're getting away with so much more. So I don't think it's a fair comparison. But if I was a guy playing now, understanding the game now, and born in 1992 or whatever, I would look at the game back then probably as kind of looking like plumbers too. But I wouldn't understand that that's not the case, because I wouldn't understand all of the factors that go along with it, why the game it was like it was. Mm-hmm. So no, I completely disagree.
To me, it's like it's just different skills. I think this is to your point too. Like a 7-footer now, you've got Kevin Durant like playing like a shooting guard, and it's unreal that he can do the things he can do. But also, no one would have let a 7-footer do that in 1984. You would have just never gotten the opportunity to, even if you could have had the skill set to do it. Like somebody like a Kevin McHale, I mean, like he has better post moves than anybody else in the NBA today by leaps and bounds. And that's, like his bag in the post compared to someone like Embiid. Like Embiid is unguardable in the post in the NBA basically right now, but he's not doing it on craft and skill. It's, I can't touch you and I can't guard you and I'm going to power through you. It's not that he's not skilled, but they're different skills. And
he's using the defenders, all the defenders' rules that they're not able to do against him now.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
So,
but like just Kevin McHale, he, like you said, his bag was crazy, but it was simple.
Yep.
It was simple. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't all the new unique step across. Mm-hmm. None of that stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. So now if your bag is more simple and more effective, who's the better player?
Yeah, it was sharp and nobody could guard it. Right.
And you could be as physical as you want back then. You can bang. You could so who's really the better post if you had to compare the two?
Exactly.
Kevin McHale dealt with 10 times more elements that these guys are dealing with now.
Mm-hmm. And it's little stuff like, just hand-eye coordination from a guy that big to catch everything, have long-ass arms and hook over people and like all this kind of stuff. Like there's nobody today that's pulling off like dream shakes, with big-ass defenders on him trying to block their shot. It's just so different. And I think Anthony Edwards is probably just being funny. Like that's kind of, he's sort of silly and irreverent. And he said he didn't even watch the NBA other than Kevin Durant before getting to the league. And would probably back off of it, but I
don't think he's being funny as much as you just could tell Anthony Edwards don't have a filter.
Yeah, he just said
whatever starts here comes out of here. Yeah. Before you know it, like I didn't really think that through, but now it's out there.
Yeah,
I just think that that's how he is. He just talks. He don't have a filter, and I don't think it's something that he don't believe, but he didn't run it through anything.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no screening process before.
Yeah, he didn't process. It just came out. Because if he did, he still would have said something different.
I think so too. And it was funny hearing Magic Johnson respond and say, "Hey, I don't listen to anybody that doesn't have a ring." I'm like,
that's Magic. You can't really get on Magic, but come on, Magic. And you know how many people don't have rings? Don't have rings.
Like Charles Barkley can't talk.
So nobody. So in that case, only person who could talk to you is MJ and Larry Bird, like Tim Duncan. Like, come on, man. Like that's not so realistic either.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, dang, Magic Johnson. I get it. I get the shot thrown toward Anthony Edwards, but you got to consider all the other guys that you're throwing that shot toward.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole long list of guys that all of a sudden don't get to have
now you got an AK now.
Speaking of somebody who, I'm going to preface this with, this is probably my favorite player to watch of all time here, but as a podcaster drives me absolutely batshit with some of the takes. So Gilbert Arenas' follow on to that. All of Jordan's competition in that era did not even have the physical tools to keep up with him. So he was basically a Bugatti and everybody else was a Honda Civic. That was, just, you got like Ron Harper can hand check you and hold you and shit like that. And you can still get by him. Like I would have loved to see Gilbert get by guys like that. Not that he couldn't, but it's just crazy disrespectful, I think.
If Jordan was in this era, there'd still be a lot of Honda Civics.
Yeah, exactly.
He would take most of the Bugattis you think that exist, and you will realize they're Chrysler 300s. You know what I'm saying? Still now. Like, he right. but he right no matter what area Jordan was in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Kobe. Yeah. Kobe made how many players was like a Kobe? Kobe was one of one.
Yep.
Everybody was a Honda Civic when Kobe was playing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. T-Mac made a lot of guys look like Honda Civics, you know.
Yeah, what are you saying? Yeah. Like you're a Bugatti till the Bugatti shows up.
Yeah, he's the turbo edition here, right?
Yeah, so like right now, if Jordan was Jordan in his peak prime, even with the skills the guys have today, but even if not the skills, even the old Jordan, when Jordan came back with the Wizards, he was killing people. He didn't add anything new to his game. What he realized is can't jump as high, can't run as fast. So I'm gonna be way more experienced and 10 times more smarter. Yeah. A smarter player is 10 times dangerous than an athletic player. Yeah. So is he still a Bugatti?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I mean, like, if Gilbert Arenas had played his game in the 1950s, like, could he have made a bunch of all those dudes look bad? Yeah. Like, of course. But it's the game has evolved. Everything's totally different. But any of these stars would hang in any era, and they make guys look bad in any era. And Jordan only being as good as he is because nobody could hang with him is just stupid. He had literally guys like clotheslining him to the ground if he drove to the lane. You'd be banned from the NBA now if you did this.
Most guys wouldn't survive that.
Right.
They'd be like, I don't want to play no more.
I'm not going to drive. Yeah, I'll just shoot.
Yeah, I stopped. They will at least stop driving. Just stand out the perimeter. I'm done.
Yep. Rick Mahorn would be in federal prison if he did that shit to LeBron. Yeah, right.
So my whole point is they don't have to play against guys like that. Yeah. So like guys are not entering the fact of evolution. That's the only difference. So they like, oh, these look like plumbers. No, they look like that because of how they played. They dribbled only left. They dribbled only right. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have to have a left and a right hand back when Jack Kuzma or whatever his name was playing. Like, so yeah, they look terrible because nothing else was. It's just like Facebook wasn't around.
Yeah, it was revolutionary at the time.
So none of them considered the fact. So that's why the guys 10 years from now going to say that about the guys that's playing now. Like, wow, what's that old school step back? Right. What's the hezzy? Like that's going to be like child's play to them. The game is going to evolve so much, and it has to evolve because you have to keep solving problems with the game. That's why it's always going to evolve. So if I create a new move, I have to come up with another something combat that new move. Now you have to come up with something combat to what I just combated right now, and that's just how it keeps growing. So now it's light years away from what it was, and so the people who's now in playing the game in space, looking at the game like we are, is like, oh, those guys were terrible. So that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, when 20 years from now, when there are multiple Victor Wembanyama archetype guys running around, it'll be like, oh, you mean centers couldn't always do step back fadeaway threes from people? Like it's
exactly.
It's just the game will continue to grow and evolve, but saying that guy looked good because he played against nobody is just stupid. All right. Speaking of somebody else who is a freak of nature, Zion Williamson, the yearly picture of him looking much fitter came out this year. But this year he actually looks like shredded compared to other years. He's down, looks like 30 plus pounds. Honestly, it seems like his face looks smaller, like all this kind of stuff. Is this finally the year that we see Zion like stay healthy and stay on a court and actually be the impactful player from like start to finish that, we think he has the skill set to do?
Now, this is a topic I definitely know about. So I know about fat boy basketball.
that's my whole thing. Yeah, it's my brand.
So am I impressed by his weight loss? Absolutely. But I don't care about the summer. I like that he's dedicated. Like you can tell he's the most dedicated he can. Yeah. But when the season roll around, You can control the summer more than you control the season.
Makes
Season
sense.
roll around, you're on the road, you got plane food, you got hotel food. You're like, it's harder to just stay on a strict diet. At home right now during the summertime, you gotta have a trainer all summer. Somebody probably making his meals all summer, right?
Yeah, sure.
Meal prep. So it's nothing he has to decide on him, with himself other than working out and staying on regimen. That person, that system that you have right now in the summer will not be there daily during the season. Maybe when you get home, but you're gonna be on the road half the time. You're gonna be on a plane
hard on travel and
with
stuff
cookies,
like that.
cakes, and the plane food, whatever they have on there, is not going to be what's within your diet guidelines whatsoever.
It's not steamed
How
salmon
are you going to avoid that? Right? How are you going to avoid that tasty cookie that come up? All them things that then you in the hotel. And okay, I need to find a tropical salad with oil and vinegar. Where you gonna find it at? What, you ain't go on your phone and Google that? Right?
Room service isn't doing that at 2 a.m.
Room service not doing that. Anything that's around you at PF Chang's, and so it's not. Now you on a weightlifting regimen. Whoever you was working with your weightlifting regimen, with this guy maybe in Vegas, he's not around. So now everything changes. And if you notice, when Zion gains weight, it's during the season.
True. Especially one injury or something where he stops burning all those calories.
Beginning of last season, look at beginning of last season to the end of last season.
Yeah, he looked a lot heavier.
He got heavier. Slowly throughout. Played better, but got back heavier.
Yep.
So I'm not so concerned about what he looks like now. I like it. And I'm glad I see where his head is. He's gonna come into the season looking right.
Yep.
Is he going to be able to sustain it? I want him to. I want him to sustain, maintain, because weight loss clauses don't matter. And eventually, So now it's had to be something. It's got to be a lifestyle. It's got to be something way beyond just working on it.
I do think there is a point for a lot of guys where it just seems to click. Like, all right, if I don't do this shit, I'm going to blow my knees out, or, whatever the case may be. So at least if you come in fit, you give yourself a little more margin, or if you do pack on a couple during the year, you can better survive it. But I'm with you. That temptation will be real. And I know for me, even I'll travel a couple weeks in a row and I'll come back heavier because it's just, you can't prepare the same way. So
just even now, you go out of town for 4 days, come back, you might be 6 pounds heavier.
Yep.
You're like, I didn't do anything different. Right. You left home.
Yeah, just going out to eat a couple times, game over.
What you did different was left the state you were in.
Right. Yep.
I don't know. So that's how tough it is.
I want to see it. I'm just kind of trying to will this into existence, because I think it makes the Western Conference even more exciting if he's, 26-9 and 5 the whole season or whatever, and he plays 70 games. That's a different world. All right. Last thing before we get out of here, I just figured we'd do something a little fun. One of the things going around Wizards Twitter for the last week was name basically an all-time starting 5. So I figured we would do starting all-time Wizards players, starting 5 plus 1 sub, and we would draft them. So Jahadi, we can either do snake draft, where one of us does 1, the other one does 2, then we do 2 back and forth, or we could just alternate each time. Any preference?
No, we each do 1. You pick your PG, I pick my PG. You pick your, right? It's just like pickup game.
Okay, you want to go first?
You go first.
All right.
PG, point guard. What you got?
My point guard, I am going to take. Oh man.
So look, if you take one, I can't take that one.
If I take it, you can't take that one. So I have an idea of who you're going to take. I'll leave you your guy. I'll go John Wall.
That's a good one. Well, you already got the idea of who I'm taking, so I'm taking Rod. Taking straight dog.
Yep. I like it. That would be an interesting matchup too, I think, just seeing the two of them go at each other. All right, why don't you go first for shooting guard then, since I went first for point guard?
All right, for shooting guard, I'm taking MJ.
Okay, I like that. This may be cheating a little bit because for parts of his career, he was kind of the point guard, but can I take Gilbert Arenas as my shooting guard?
Oh, okay. All right.
Little different there.
It was a toss-up for me for Rip and MJ, though.
That's going.
Yeah. All right. Okay. For small forward, which is unique, I'm taking him for small forward. I'm taking Antoine Jameson.
Ooh, I like it. Okay. Gonna be a big group. All right. Well, I feel bad because I'm like leaving out a lot of the old school guys I know are really good. So anyone over 55 in the Wizards fan base listening to this is gonna get mad at me for not taking like Bobby Dandridge or Gus Johnson or something. But I got to go with the guy I always like watching. I'm gonna go Caron Butler. That's my small forward.
All right. Okay.
All right. So power forward here. I'll go, if you don't mind, for this one. I would like to take Chris Webber.
Damn.
Is that who you were going to go with?
That's what I was going with.
All right. You want to go with him?
No, that's okay. Well, then power forward, I'm going with Juwan.
All right. That's another good one. I think those of the guys of our era of watching these teams, and obviously you played with these guys, so they're those are probably the two names, right? That's definitely the fun matchup to watch. Did you play with both those guys in DC?
No, I just play with Juwan.
Okay, Chris was already gone by then.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Okay, center. Want to go first? You can take yourself if you want. That's fair game.
Well, I mean, you already know who I'm taking for center. Me, myself, and I.
I like it. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, I'm just writing this down as we go so we can read them back. All right, center. Again, I'm not going to take any of the old school guys. I'm trying to stick more towards I'm trying to stick more towards guys that actually played for the Wizards, just because it's more fun to talk about guys I've actually seen play live with my own two eyes. I'm going to go Gortat.
Okay.
Marcin Gortat. Keep it fun.
Right.
All right. And then we get a sub. So you get any position you want here. Who's the next guy you would take?
Sub. All right. My sub is Rip.
That's a good one. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go Jerry Stackhouse.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Add a little toughness to our team here.
That's a good one.
All right. Oh, shit. Somehow we just went that whole draft and neither of us took Bradley Beal. I feel kind of bad about that in retrospect, but that's okay. He's still playing. I think that's fair game to leave him off the list. All right. So your team, you've got Rod Strickland, MJ, Antoine Jameson, Juwan Howard, Jahadi White, and Richard Hamilton. Pretty damn good. I've got John Wall, Gilbert Arenas, Caron Butler, Chris Webber, Marcin Gortat, and Jerry Stackhouse.
That's a good one. You got a good one too, man.
I would like to someone young who can do this. Actually, please go simulate this for us on 2K and let us know how our squad.
Yeah, I want to know how this turned out.
Yeah, that would be a fun group to watch.
You may have a little more. I don't know. I'm about to say you may have a little more physicalness than I do, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Rod was tough. MJ was tough.
Yeah, you guys are a little bigger, I think, too.
Yeah.
You got Jameson at the 3. That helps. You're a more physical rebounder than everyone else on this list. Like, that's I don't know. It would be fun to watch Rod.
Well, it really wasn't a lot of threes on that list for real.
That's true.
Like real threes.
Yep.
So
Otto Porter was like on the list, like that's where we're at.
Yeah, so I mean, really didn't have a lot of options in that 3 position. That 3 position was tough.
Yeah, if we were gonna do like the full spectrum of Wizards players, and like that, I mean the full franchise. Obviously, the Wes Unseld, Elvin Hayes, Moses Malone, Gus Johnson, Walt Bellamy, Bernard King, Earl Monroe, Phil Chenier, Jeff Malone. I should have been probably in consideration somewhere on there too. Bobby Dandridge. Like, there's some really good old school guys. Honestly, just makes me sad to think about like having Hall of Famers on the roster here because it's just we're a ways away from that given this current group. So that's That's all good. Anybody from this list, Jahadi, that you didn't play with that you really wish you could have? Like, hey, player X here would have been really fun to be on the same squad with.
On the list that I didn't play with that I wish I did, that would I wish I would have played with Chris Webber.
I was actually thinking you would say that, and I that would have been fun to watch because that would have helped him too to have the physical presence. And
that's about it. I played with Jerry Stackhouse, Larry. Before the guys I would want to. It would be Chris Webber, and outside of Chris Webber, it probably would be Antoine Jameson.
That's a good one too. Yeah, I think Antoine seems like he'd be good vibes to play with also. Yeah. Just like a fun teammate to have. Also, you played with arguably maybe the most fun guy on this group to play with, but I feel like Rod had to be one of those people where it's just like you couldn't, and it would be impossible not enjoy playing with him, I would think.
Yeah, it was tough not to enjoy playing with Rod. I mean, Rod was Rod. Yeah. I think the two of my favorite players to play with, just it was Rod, very enjoyable to play with, funny, just Mitch Richmond is the best ever you could ever play with in life. Just it's like playing with Mitch Richmond is like playing with Dave Chappelle.
Okay, it's funny, dude.
But also a lot of information, but just personality. Just it's hard to not like him, And you know what? Another guy who was really, really cool to play with, and you never know how cool he was or how funny he is, or Ben Wallace.
Okay, I like that.
Ben Wallace is my man.
Yeah. He seems fun when he does interviews and stuff too. So
Ben Wallace.
I've gotten to meet Rod a couple times over the years, and just like a cool guy now too. This was before he was.
Rod was crazy. Rod was always mad about something, but his mad was never the mad to where you like, oh, he tripping at me. It was more like it's just funny.
Yeah, just Rod.
It always turned into like, the way he just the personality he had, and he could read the floor. Threw up before every game. I'm like, man, you've been in the league before I was here. You still having butterflies? I mean, terrible butterflies.
Yeah, Bill Russell supposedly did that.
The coach is talking, on the board, going over the game plan. You hear in the bathroom, just throwing it up.
Hey, I guess he cared, right? I mean, I guess there's something to that. Yeah. My friend of mine coached Rod's son Terrell a couple years ago, and he was funny to watch too because it was like a mini Rod. He had kind of that edge to him on the court, but he was fast as shit and got into the lane, and people could stay in front of him. But it was funny to see Rod watch him play too. All right, very cool. Thank you for indulging me there. I think it's fun to do a little trip down memory lane sometime. All right, if you're listening to this, let us know in the comments if you like one squad or the other, who you guys would take, with your five. In the chat, Greg Gristia said, you need Jerry's hands in case you get into a fight. That's what I was thinking. Jerry could be my enforcer. That would be number one on my list of guys I would not want to piss off.
Yeah, you need his tempers. Jerry got the shortest temper in the world.
Yeah, it's nice. You probably can't do that the same way in today's league, but I think back then that was probably nice to have. And then It Never Makes No Sense said, only question with Gil is, can he play off ball? And it's something we talked to Gilbert on the show. Actually, Larry and I had him on early on, and Larry said Gil said the biggest thing for him was actually when Larry left, it hurt him a lot because he had to be on ball so much more. And when Larry was there, he had another guy that could guard the other team's best player, but also do some of the distributing duties too. Whereas like Deshaun Stevenson couldn't really create for anybody else. So I think it made them more one-dimensional. So according to Gilbert, he actually liked being, less of the heliocentric, offensive guy by himself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, I think that's all I got for you here. It's a pretty good 300th show. Not bad. I'm looking forward to the next 300 and just thank you again for doing this. I appreciate your time. This is not a money-making venture for either of us in the grand scheme of things. So I don't take for granted how much, I appreciate your time and just doing this with me every week.
Oh, no problem. I enjoy it.
All right, everybody, you know the drill at this point in time. Rate, review, subscribe. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, click that little like button for us and leave us an iTunes review if you're so inclined, and let us know what you think team-wise and anything else you'd like us to talk about here on the show for the rest of the summer. With that, we're presented by betonline.ag, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Peace.